SkillBridge, and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
It's tax season. By now, we're all a bit tired of numbers, but here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now, here's a good number, $100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed. Save up to 40% in your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit lifelock.com. That's lifelock.com, promo code CLAY. Terms apply.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeartRadio station.
Running. I'm Daria Albinger, Fox News. London's Heathrow Airport, one of the world's busiest, is open a day after a massive fire at its power plant. Fox's Jackie Ibanez with more.
London's Heathrow Airport is fully open and operational after it was completely shut down for hours due to a power outage from a nearby substation fire. The closure is still leading to massive disruptions at one of the world's busiest travel hubs and beyond. More than 1,300 flights around the globe still could be affected from the closure over the coming days. Power has also been known to be fully restored to the region around the substation.
Britain's energy secretary emphasizes that while they don't know what caused the fire, there is at this point no suggestion that it could be foul play. A court battle is continuing over whether the White House has the legal authority to carry out mass deportation flights to El Salvador. Fox's David Spunt in Washington.
Minutes into the 80-minute hearing, Judge James Boasberg expressed frustration with the Department of Justice for not following his order to return flights full of suspected gang members from Venezuela to El Salvador and stop any future flights. He asked point blank the DOJ attorney, why was this proclamation signed in the dark and then these people rushed onto planes? The only reason to do that is if you know it's a problem and you want to get them before suits are filed. With clear tension in his voice, Boasberg, named by Republican and Democratic presidents to judicial seats, said the government used, quote, intemperate and disrespectful language in the written briefs, saying he had never seen that tone in other DOJ filings.
Attorneys for the Trump administration say they acted within the bounds of the law. Pope Francis plans to make his first appearance tomorrow, offering a blessing from the window of his room at Rome's Gemelli Hospital, where he's battling double pneumonia. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. You're listening to Winning at Life. Live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Welcome to the show. We've been doing this show for almost 15 years now. It's truly a joy to do it with the feedback that I get as I go about life every day. And life is just more than the business, but the business, the show, all are a part of my life as well. So I appreciate the feedback during the week, and I tell you what, I get it every day wherever I go about, so I appreciate that. One of the important things I think is about sharing is caring. And that's an emphasis we have at the firm. And I think it's important to share this show with others. You know, that's one of the things, if we do good work for you, you should tell others about it. I do. I refer people to other businesses such where I have a great experience. I share. I don't keep it as a secret. And what I do on a daily basis, my objective, you know, a friend taught me this years ago, And if you're a business owner, maybe you should think about this way too. Do you want to be your town's best kept secret? And that's what he suggested, was do not keep what you do as a secret in your town. Let everybody know. And it's something I teach others regarding from a marketing standpoint, is climb to the, and what he shared with me is climb to the highest mountaintop and shout out to everyone what you do. We don't live in a mountainous area for the most part. A lot of listeners across the country do, in fact, but that's really not how we want to go about it this day and age. We want to find platforms where we can get the word out to everybody what we do. And radio has been that for us for 15 years and will continue to be a platform we use for years to come. And I think live radio is very unique in telling a story, but in general, it gives you a platform, even pre-recorded from that standpoint. TV, for the most part, we're adding a TV show that's running this year, and I think that's an important platform as well to get the story out about what we do. And all of this, no matter the platform, whether you're writing articles in the paper, doing news appearances, radio show, TV show, podcasts, you're always touching some portion of society. But our objective is to kind of to get the message out. The other part is when you do good work for somebody, I also have this belief it should be shared. And that's something we kind of ask for that favor. Share this with others. So one of the ways you can do that today, right now, is go over to my Facebook page and check us out on the Winning at Life page. And if you appreciate what we do, share it with your friend group, and that kind of helps get the story out there as well. If you're getting great benefit from us, whether listener, client, or however you've gotten value, I think you owe it to others to make them aware. It's like, why would you keep that information to yourself? Here's one of the common things people think about. Like, oh, Lordy, I don't want Gregory and his team to get too busy that they're not taking care of me. That could be the case if I was a one-man shop with a few assistants, which is what a lot of financial firms are. They are small shops. But one of the things is we are going to take care of the public. And what I do at the firm is we are going to help others, those that refer, those that call in, and those that hear our story, whether it's through the book, the TV show, the radio show, the podcast, newscasts that I appear on. We use a lot of ways to tell the story. I don't believe in keeping what I know a secret to a few. And that's why we've increased offices over the years, and we've increased a team. And no matter what, if I was staying just myself and a few assistants, there's no way we could provide excellence in service for very long, because it is going to grow. And even if I retained just was selective enough to work with those that would fill my calendar, and it would be limited, which means we would mostly deny people entrance. Would not be right either, but enables us to bring on team members that are A players, that are excellent, that we can help more from that standpoint. And it allows us to teach other people how to be excellent in service. It also allows me to teach other advisors to be great at what they do. And then we hire advisor assistants and analysts, and we're ongoing teaching them as well. As well as we're a great platform for other financial firms to listen to my thoughts, as well as the do-it-yourselfers out there to continue doing it yourself, and that's okay. I believe you're missing out on something. I believe you're probably missing out on a lot by having a sounding board and utilizing a firm that has tremendous resources that you aren't aware of, nor could you afford or get on your own. You know, there's a discussion I had also recently regarding somebody that manages their own money, having a discussion with a member of our firm, looking for some of our talents in regard to doing qualified conversions, IRA conversions over time. They have quite a bit of assets, 7 figures plus, and they would rather just write a check for the knowledge and the how-to versus have us help with the money. And one of the things is we're providing resources. Some of the money management areas that we have that you don't have access to outside of us, or even the knowledge of that, or how to utilize them to create proper asset allocation. That could be that, you know, a couple of areas that are unique is private equity that we have access to, how to strategize buffers, how to build a proper stock bond mix. And the other is you shouldn't have everything correlated to risk. So how do you do that and still grow money? If you're doing income planning, where do you take that income from? And one of the reason people, you know, do it yourself is, think about it this way. They're worried about paying a fee. Oh, I don't want to pay a fee. You know what they're doing? They're stepping over dollars because they're worried about the pennies. You know, somebody in this conversation, the household had somewhere, because of the amount of qualified money that they have, they've got somewhere over $1 million plus in future tax liability, where that money is going to transition out of those IRAs, whether it's through income distributions or when the household dies and leaves it to the kids, they're going to have to take that money out within 10 years. That's the rules on inherited IRAs. So there's over $1 million in liabilities in the future if they die at, say, 10 or 20 years out, and it's more likely 20 years out, that liability is going to translate to double that, what the tax liability is now. And they're worried about a fee. And I'll tell you how I define this. Let's say the account was worth $1.5 million. The fees on that annually is probably about $22,000. But what's the tax liability they have exposure for that they've got to work through and deal with is well over $1 million. What's holding them back is $22,000. And you got a bigger problem, which is $1 million. I'd spend $22,000 in a heartbeat to solve $1 million problem. I look at that even from a health standpoint. I'll spend money to solve a health problem versus a health problem costing me more in the long run and even killing me. Money is important. If you were utilizing a hedge fund, you know what those fees are? They're like 20%. Why do people use them? Because they make them a bunch of money long term. Something to think about. Hear the music. We're going to take a break. Got a lot to cover with you in this 3 hours today. You are listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities. If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income if you contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I would never hesitate to ever call them for anything else that we need.
I can't say enough good things about Dwayne Stein and his people at Mortgage Company.
I will never, ever do anything as far as a mortgage is concerned without contacting Dwayne Stein and his group. Again, first.
Let's chat to learn what home loan options or programs you may qualify for. No cost, no obligation, just answers. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardraw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Can you raise your payout on your Social Security after full retirement by continuing working and paying in more? Do you get a raise for that?
Remember, the core thing is Social Security benefits you receive are based on your best 35 years. If you have less than 35 years, those are filled in with zeros. So if you're making more money this year that replaces, say, that first year of the 35, it is inflation adjusted. That will improve your benefit. And they reset that, they recalculate that every year. So even while you're drawing benefits, you could well be incrementally improving your benefits.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I believe most people are good and most mamas ought to qualify for sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better under neon or stadium lights. I believe you love who you love, ain't nothing you should.
Welcome back to Winning at Life. One of the neat things about technology is I get to stream this show on Facebook Live and my YouTube channel. And you need to check out both. A lot of resources there on our YouTube channel. And I'm holding up to the screen my book. This book is really important because it shares basic concepts about retirement. You know, I've done this show close to 15 years now, and oh my gosh, from every episode, we could be volumes, so we're probably going to churn out another book to roll out for 2026. With that said, we've got to create more TV shows. We're creating more live radio this year, but this book's important. I even, if you reach out to us, info@gregoryricks.com, or call the office, we'll send you out a signed copy of the book. If you know somebody that should probably read this, that could benefit from it, send us their information. We'll send them a book as well. But it's that important. It's not a read that's going to take them a long time. That's one of our thoughts on writing this, was something that would be easy to read, not that they've like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me weeks or months. This can take you a few days. In fact, and here's a theory on reading, and I'll kind of, I was sharing with my team yesterday. Anyhow, it's been 30 days. I'm sorry, 30 minutes. And pick a few days a week. You can accumulate a lot of knowledge, but one of the most important things is understanding retirement. Listening to this show is going to benefit you tremendously because I'm always sharing knowledge from my extensive reading, sharing my knowledge from being an advisor for decades, also being in the financial services business for over 40 years, sharing knowledge from being a kid that loved compound interest, which is the magic. But we've got to grow our money. We have to grow our money. We should accumulate wealth. You should accumulate savings, and having money is wealth. Having equity in your house is wealth. Having a business that has value is wealth. I'm not determining how much is enough. You have to determine what's enough for you. But if you're not working to generate an income, how are you going to generate that? We're going to talk about Social Security today, probably do a little bit of a deep dive in that topic as well. But outside of Social Security, which is a government pension that pretty much most of us are eligible for, even if you were not a worker but married to a worker, you have eligibility for that as well. And it's a tool to have, but for most part, it only replaces it's designed to replace about 40% of the average worker's income. Now, for the poor, defined as making $1,000 or less a month in income, it's designed to replace about 90% of their income. So that's pretty important, but if it's replacing 90% of $1,000, that's not getting you too far. That doesn't buy a lot. Heck, you go into a grocery store to buy, and typically I use a small basket. I don't go get the big basket. I'm not planning to buy that much, but I am kind of a regular. I don't think I went to a grocery store this past week, but I do it several times a month myself. So I do have that experience. I'm kind of just surprised and like, oh, gosh, I didn't think I bought too much, and that was $197. Y'all get it. Good thing eggs came down. I was eating a little bit of my power food on the break right there, and to get my protein, which is kind of a core thing to do every morning. I was grabbing some eggs. On the next break, I'm going to eat some more of the eggs that was just given to me by my wonderful wife that looks out for me. Very appreciative of that and what she does, by the way. Love my wife. So with that said, we have to build up additional income besides that. And I was blessed to have a full house the other evening. It was Thursday evening. We did a Social Security and investment strategies event. It's 1 hour. It's at 5:30 to 6:30. If you're regular listeners, you know I've talked about it. We had a full house. We had to even bring in more seats into our event room where we hold that. And it was kind of wild to see such a audience there. And a couple important things about that is it starts at 5:30, ends at 6:30. So it's not an unending thing and you have to do something, or you have to pay, or you have to sign up for a meeting. None of that. All of it's voluntary, and we give a lot of information and value out compressed into that time. If I did a full-on, and I've done this before, full-on Social Security course, that full-on to give you all that information would run a little better than 3 hours. Even if I was trying to do a full-on one and get it into 2 hours, it would be difficult because there's so much, and it would just kind of be over your head. So what we try to do is fundamentals, but we can always be an ongoing resource for Social Security information. But I don't want to hold an event where we talk about Social Security only. And Nicholas Rodian and I presented that event together, but I had Nicholas present on the back end of it, kind of the last 10 minutes, some investing strategy and cover our fundamental philosophy. And he just crushed it on that. He got a big applause afterwards after how he went through that, which was tremendous, so people can understand proper asset allocation, because there's two important things you have to understand with investing, and I'll say it's really three, but the two most of the three is you need time built into your retirement plan, and you always have time, because I remember a discussion with a client, and she brought up, she kind of mentioned this statement. She says, well, Gregory, in 5 years, I'm going to be 75. And she was trying to allude to that one of the strategies we was talking about involved a bit more time than 5 years, is what she was referencing. And I'll just call her Susie. I'll just say, Susie, you know, in 10 years, you'll be 80. In 15 years, you'll be 85. Heck, in 8 years, you'll be 78. So I'm not sure what your point is, but you have time until you don't. And that was an important thing to understand, is not, maybe she could only see, or you can only see, just a few years out. You know, if you're age 50 and you tell me that, well, Gregory, in 10 years, I'm going to be 60. Yeah, in 20 years, you're going to be 70. In 30 years, you're going to be 80. You're likely to live beyond 80. Your money's going to have life beyond your life, because your spouse will out-survive you probably, and then your kids are going to out-survive you. But what we need is time, because time also helps us get a better return. Time helps us reduce risk. Time also helps us use some investment choices that takes longer, but can also potentially get us a better return with less risk exposure because we give it more time. The other important thing, the two important of the three, is asset allocation. One way to define it, you shouldn't have all your money in stocks and bonds. That is not the way to do it. I also don't think you should have all your money in risk, but there's multiple asset classes. You could perhaps qualify to utilize private equity. You should have a strategic mix of stocks and bonds. You probably should be utilizing buffers. You should be using some fixed interest. We get pretty good yield out there. Multiple asset classes working together. When I come back from the break, I'm going to repeat those two and then give you that third one that will help you even more. This is Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
Your program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1978. Cancer Crusaders Incorporated is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $5 million for the local cancer research centers, LSU Stanley S. Scott Cancer Center and Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. Visit us at cancercrusadersla.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox News, I'm Daria Albinger. Police in Las Cruces, New Mexico are getting help from state and federal authorities as they look into a shooting in a park that killed one person and injured several others.
All we're saying is multiple gunshot victims, but we'll try to get all the numbers.
Police spokesman Dan Trujillo says they're trying to determine the identities of the suspect or suspects. Still trying.
We are moving along on Russia, Ukraine. We had a couple of good conversations today, and maybe we can get that death march stopped as soon as possible.
President Trump telling reporters on Marine One that he's still doing all that he can to end the war in Ukraine. The nations have agreed in principle to a limited ceasefire. London's Heathrow Airport is operating at nearly 100% a day after a massive fire at its power plant. America Listens to Fox News.
Cause you make me wanna put his truck to the side of the road, slide over, let me hold you close until you.
Welcome back. This is Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Welcome to the show today. It's a 3-hour show, as always. I'll be here till 1 o'clock. Second hour, I'm going to have Brandon Blanchard join me. We're going to talk a little bit about Medicare. At that hour, he'll be with us for 2 segments, and I think it's a great topic. Brandon is one of the advisors at wealth advisors at Gregory Ricks and Associates, Advisors and Retirement Strategies. You know, that firm I'm CEO of. And he works in our Metairie office and our Gulfport office. Does a great job, tremendous knowledge, and just dedicated to helping people. If you're not aware, the firm has multiple offices. I kind of say headquarters is the Metairie office in the New Orleans area. It's where a good portion of the staff is. We also have a Mandeville office, which is quite a busy office as well, which is awesome. Great team works out of that office as well. We have a Baton Rouge office and a Gulfport office. So it kind of gives 4 offices, but we work with families across the Southeast as well as across the country because of technology as well. So it's just so good that we can do that. And of course, the Winning at Life show has tremendous reach because of iHeartRadio as well. And of course, does our podcast also. So let me jump back where I went to break here. Let me grab another book. I don't know that you could see on camera, but I've got some stack of, talking away from the mic, but I'm going to show you a whole stack of books here I've got to reference today. And actually, yeah, and one of them I didn't pick up as well, but I've got some thoughts from each of them to share with you today. But one of the thoughts I was going through was talking to you about time before I went to the break, time for your money. And one of the core things is, there's volatility. I remember a discussion I like to share, because sometimes some discussions with people are really impactful and have lots of discussions every week. But certain stands out to tell a story. And I had an individual that had a discussion with me, and they came in for a strategy session, which means they were already a client, and we typically look at least our yearly events are strategy sessions. The review part takes minutes. You can enter the portal at gregoryricks.com and look at how things are going. And that's easy to do. What's important is, what are we doing going forward? Also talking about what has changed for you as well. So that review of performance is real easy, but what's going on in your life? What has changed? What is it you see coming that's changing about you? What part of the discussion is, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you have any worries or stress? But talking about, how are we looking at the money, growing it, generating income? What adjustments are we making going forward? That's why it's a strategy session. It's not a review session. We're not, remember, that takes a few minutes. It's all the other things we need to talk about, which is about now and going forward. I simply want to look on, based on how it's been and going forward. One of the key things I like to look at is always kind of thinking 5, 10, and 15 years out. What are those points looking like for you with the anticipated adjustments and income adjustments in the future? Are we on pace for this to go well for you? If not, then we're probably needing to make adjustments. That could be impacted by distributions you've taken or income that you pull out. And sometimes, people do pull out too much money. I can't stop them. I can advise them, like, this isn't going to go well long term at this pace, or a family that's now overseeing an individual's money spending too much. We can have those discussions, but we don't stop them. We can't. I might create a temporary pause to, we need to have a talk. But I'm not the one to say. I'm just the one to advise. But getting back to that discussion that stands out is they're happy with how things are going and what we're doing. But their point was, yeah, I'm happy with everything. I just don't want it to go down. And I said, but and we were talking about a certain segment, certain allocation. There's a portion of the allocation that was in a strategic mix, which means correlated to stocks and bonds. And this person probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of 65% risk off money that was not correlated to risk. So they had somewhere, the portion we were talking about that was risk on was maybe 25% of the portfolio. And they're enjoying the performance over time, but just didn't want it to go down. And I said, but you know it will. They said, yeah, but I don't want it to. So digging into the why, it was just creating a worry. And I said, well, we're going to need to make some adjustments. No, I want to leave it there. I just don't want it to go down. So if they have an understanding of time and how things cycle and seeing it go down, the expectation that is short term. It's not like it's gone away and not going to come back. And one way to define that is you can go look at the market history, and let's just use since the Great Depression. You go out there and look at any 20-year period. No matter what happens during that 20-year period, your ending point at the end of 20 years is always going to be higher than when you started. There's no 20-year period that you can look at in the history of the S&P 500 that you finish down at the end of the 20-year period. So that tells you, if you have some time, that helps. And then we get into shorter periods. Then you have probability, like an example of a shorter period, hypothetically, because I'm not going to give you timelines, but what we get into is probability. If you give that block of money 15 years, hypothetically, you've got a 75% chance of success. That's not an accurate percentage. I'm just giving you an example here at that, because I don't have those notes in front of me. But the more time, and meaning if you're less than 20 years, you have a high probability of success on any given period. But 20 years always gives you 100% success that you're not going to be down in that money. And so that's where we speak of having time, and then having different asset classes of of money, which makes a tremendous difference. And that's where you can have stocks, bonds, buffers, some tactical strategies, private equity in there, and time in those allocations, along with some index strategies that gives you only upside, doesn't expose you to downside. You can use some insurance tools to protect your money. You can use some high yield instruments that have no market exposure. Those are all different asset classes that you can utilize from that standpoint. And then number 3 inside of that is diversification. You can say your stock and bond portfolio, you're not going to just hold one stock and one bond. You're going to have multiple there. You're going to have diversification in all of those asset classes that reduce your risk even more and allows you growth over time and comfort. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of beer salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I won some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Do you like having your money follow where momentum is? Remember, everything cycles in the markets there, and you've got to have proper asset classes. And how about a tactical approach that follows momentum? And if there's a black swan effect, like maybe a pandemic, and not have to suffer all of that downside move. That might be why you should take a look at the Invest 50-50 philosophy. Why I think, always felt, they're doing it wrong out there. There has to be a better way to help people grow their money and have it positioned to take income from without it being crushed when the markets go down.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Ain't it fun?
This is Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, always here with you every Saturday, but available to you on the Ask Gregory podcast, our tremendous volume of material on our YouTube channel. So check us out on our Facebook page, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. My personal page is Gregory Ricks also. And the firm page is Gregory Ricks and Associates, so we have multiple pages there on Facebook, but also connects to our YouTube channel where we're streaming the show live at this time. My TV show, let's go over some air times. Winning at Life, the Gregory Ricks retirement show. So we've got on in Biloxi, Gulfport. This morning, episode aired on WLOX ABC at 5:30 a.m. on that's inaccurate. It's DXXV. The NBC station in Biloxi is going to air Sunday at 5 p.m. So make note of that. Set your DVR for it. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. All of you listening up there, WDAM NBC airs Sunday at 10 a.m. and HDAM, the ABC channel, the show airs at 10:30 a.m. in the Hattiesburg area market. Baton Rouge, this is an early one for the early risers. You'd be surprised how many people get up and watch early television. We get a good bit of feedback in Baton Rouge. WAFB, the CBS station, Sunday, 4:30 a.m. Actually, I was reading a little bit at 4:30 a.m. this morning, so I shouldn't be surprised about it, but I don't watch TV at 4:30 a.m. But we have that show available at that time in Baton Rouge. We hopefully would like to get it on at some additional times. We'll see how we can work through that in the future. It's kind of up to them on placement. New Orleans, we have several options for you. On WGNO ABC, it aired 6:30 this morning. On WVUE, it aired at 10 a.m. this morning. So on that station, it's already ran. There's also, if you want to catch the TV show today, it's going to air on WVUE Fox at 11 a.m. And then another chance at it is tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. for the TV show. So that's something else you can share with others. I know that's a bunch of information there. You can go to the website GregoryRicks.com for more information on that. So you can set your DVR and start recording it so you can catch the show out there. Had a lot of fun putting these episodes together, and we've got a schedule to film some more this year as well. So important stuff there to help you advance your knowledge. I'm working on a book right now. Well, many there in my reading, and I was reading some more on it this morning. The Holy Grail of Investing with Tony Robbins and Christopher Zook. And one of that, he talks about the Holy Grail of investing, and I talked about a few fundamentals with you earlier that he also discusses in the book regarding kind of core things, and he refers to Ray Dalio over on page 7. One of the Hall of Fame players in the smart money game is my friend Ray Dalio. Ray is the Tom Brady of macro hedge fund managers, the GOAT for all those who aren't familiar. Ray is the founder of Bridgewater, the world's largest hedge fund at $196 billion at the time this book was written. With an outstanding track record in both good times and bad, he is one of the first who predicted the Great Recession and took advantage. In 2008, while the market melted down 37%, Bridgewater bucked the trend and gave investors a gain of 9.4%. Their pure alpha fund has averaged over 11% annually since inception in 1991, compared to approximately 7% for the S&P 500. Needless to say, when you consistently beat the market by wide margins for more than 30 years, you become one of the most sought-after hedge funds for the world's wealthiest, from the sovereign wealth funds of the richest countries on earth to the most influential billionaires. Ray is on the speed dial for many of the world's most powerful. One of the things Tony says here in some of their earliest conversations nearly a decade ago, he said he taught me what he considers the most important principle of successful investing, and that's a principle of diversification to maximize reward and minimize risk, a principle that's guided his own personal investment strategy, and more important, provided the inspiration for the title and content of his third and final book in his financial trilogy, what Ray calls the Holy Grail of investing, a simple yet profound strategy that is rarely put into practice. And he's going to share, I'll share that with you here, what he's going to tell you how it works. But first, and it's important to understand that most traditional portfolios hope to reduce risk and maximize upside through a core principle of diversification. And that's don't keep all your eggs in one basket. You know, that goes back through history of time. That old saying, don't keep all your eggs in one basket. But unfortunately, this doesn't always work out as expected, because many of today's traditional investments are correlated, which simply means they move up and down in union. To have that diversification, you need uncorrelated assets. Correlation measures how much investments move together in the same direction. Positively correlated means they move in unison, while negatively correlated means they do the opposite. So you have varying degrees of correlation, meaning they move together but not in complete lockstep. For example, stocks and bonds are generally uncorrelated. When stocks go down, it is helpful if bonds go up to give you some protection. However, correlations are always changing and can often throw some unexpected curveballs. In 2022, stocks and bonds both dropped simultaneously. While this is somewhat rare, it may not be an anomaly going forward. One of the world's most successful algorithmically driven hedge funds, AQR, believes that microeconomic changes such as higher inflation uncertainty could lead to reappearance of the positive stock-bond correlation of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. In August of 2023, a Bloomberg headline came across Tony's screen that read, "Bonds are a useless hedge for stocks as correlation jumps." The article noted that the positive correlation between Treasury bonds and stocks is at its highest reading since 1996. And that's one reason we use stocks and bonds as one of the allocations on the risk side, not a blend of many stocks and many bonds. You have a correlation problem if that's all you're holding is a blend of stocks and bonds without any other asset classes in your mix. And I'm just backing up here. That's what we've been doing for quite a while, and that's what he discusses here in the book. And he goes on to say it's not just stocks and bonds that have been shown to positively correlate lately, but publicly traded REITs, companies that own and manage real estate portfolios, tend to have a strong degree of correlation with stocks despite being a different asset class. Between 2010 and 2020, REITs had an 80% positive correlation with the S&P 500. Adding real estate to your portfolio might seem like a smart way to diversify, but in fact, your REITs and stocks are more likely to dance in unison. He goes on to say, to be fair, REITs performed quite well over the period from 2010 to 2020, but here's the key point. When stocks come crashing down in 2022, REITs also took a tumble. So much for keeping a portion of your eggs safe and sound. And likewise, cryptocurrency, often touted by its supporters as digital gold and a hedge against market volatility, has been moving in lockstep with stocks in recent years. Well, I'll pause there. We're going to have Brandon Blanchard join us next hour. We got a couple segments with him, and we're going to have a Medicare discussion and help you out with some ideas there. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We're going to take a short break. Be back with Hour 2.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
Operating again. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. One of the biggest airports in the world opened once again after a fire shut it down on Friday.
London's Heathrow Airport is fully open and operational after it was completely shut down for hours due to a power outage from a nearby substation fire. The closure is still leading to massive disruptions at one of the world's busiest travel hubs and beyond. More than 1,300 flights around the globe still could be affected from the closure over the coming days. Power has also been known to be fully restored to the region around the substation.
And that's Fox's Jackie Ibanez. No word on what caused that fire at that substation, although foul play is not suspected. ICE announcing the first arrest of a suspected Tren de Aragua gang member under the Alien Enemies Act. This as the Trump White House continues to battle a federal judge.
Federal Judge James Boasberg is extremely skeptical of the Trump administration's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act. The president argues he can exercise that wartime authority because TDA is threatening an invasion. But Boasberg is questioning the administration's expanded use of the statute, saying the policy ramifications of this are incredibly troublesome and problematic. The president, though, is defending his actions.
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs.
As this case is litigated, immigration officials are moving ahead with detaining suspected Tren de Aragua gang members. They say one alleged gang member in particular, Franklin Jose Jimenez Bracho, is the first person detained under the Alien Enemies Act.
And that's Fox's Madeline Rivera. Pope Francis planning to make his first public appearance in some time, set for tomorrow, offering a blessing from the window of his room at the Gemelli Hospital as he continues to battle double pneumonia. Francis admitted to the hospital in mid-February with a severe respiratory infection that is requiring evolving treatment. America's listening to Fox News.
Welcome to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Hey, Dave, I think we're getting busy signals on our call-in line. If you would, check that out. Little technical difficulty there. Hey, I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Welcome to Hour 2 of Winning at Life, the financial show. Covered some pretty good stuff there in Hour 1, especially right there. I kind of like that last segment that we were going there to help you with asset allocation, diversification, and time. And it is a discussion, and that's also, you know, when I'm looking at adding a client on board, one of the here's a few things we look at from a fit standpoint. Are they nice people? Will they be nice to our team? Are they good stewards of their money? And do they believe in our philosophy? Those things kind of have to fit together. On your side, It's kind of the same thing. But I'm going to word it a little bit different, is you have to wonder, is Gregory Ricks and Associates, the people I'm seeing and meeting, are they nice people? Are they going to look out for me? Do they care? Do I feel like they care? Do they look successful? Do they look like, when you kind of look at how the office is kept up and the wear and tear on the furniture and, is it clean? It's kind of like those things tell you that we care and that we're going to be around for a long time there. So, and then you have to come to the point, are you going to act in my best interest? And we absolutely are 100% of the time. And if there's conflicts of interest, those will be disclosed. And then the last thought is this a place I can be for a long time? Because that's the last thing you want to do, is having to be bouncing around. Well, let me find somebody else to work with. It's like you're changing houses and stuff from that standpoint. So I think those things are really important in finding somebody to work with. And I spoke about that at the Social Security and Investing Strategies event the other evening. So even in finding somebody to help you with Medicare strategies. And Brandon, hey Brandon, welcome to Winning at Life. How are you today?
Hey Gregory, I'm doing pretty well. How about you today?
Oh, I'm blessed. It's a wonderful day, beautiful weekend, of course. Thank you for joining us here for these two segments on the show, which
of course,
we'll cut you loose at about 11:30, bottom of the hour here. But I was sharing with the listeners a little bit about you there, that you are pretty strong in the Medicare area, and we have a team to help people with Medicare and strategies and implementation. But you're one of the more versed people on the team regarding how all this works, and that is kind of takes its own unique, because it is a lot of information there that's a little bit different than financial planning and advising, which is what you do, and it just kind of shows your power base of knowledge that you have for there. But once again, Brandon works in the Metairie office as well as the Gulfport office of Gregory Ricks and Associates, Advisors and Retirement Strategies. So what do you have on your mind today?
Well, I figured we'd take some time addressing a very common question we get in the office, which is, what do you do regarding Medicare enrollment when you turn 65? Of course, a few months before your 65th birthday, you get on all of the marketing lists and your mailbox starts getting filled up with pamphlets, but you just don't really have a whole lot of clear direction as to what choice you need to make, when you need to make it, and ultimately, do you need to do it at all? And because the answer varies so differently from person to person, I do think it would be valuable to take a little bit of time to chat about that.
Awesome. And this is an important decision, and people need to think about it not when they leave their job or when they turn 65 and have eligibility, but to start thinking about that in advance of, and it's tied into planning for retirement. And one of the big problems people retiring prior to 65 is they've got to pick up their own health insurance there, and sometimes that's kind of like, wow, I did not realize, they don't realize how much it's going to cost to carry the coverage on their own. So give some guidance that you share with your clients on, if they're looking to retire prior to age 65, how to go about looking at that and making that decision.
You hit the nail on the head. For a lot of people who are contemplating retirement pre-65, there's a lot of sticker shock when you go shopping for those marketplace plans to fill that gap. oftentimes it's double, if not more, the cost of the health insurance that your employer was subsidizing. So more and more often, I have come across people who are delaying retirement ultimately until their 65th birthday because they know that is the changeover point. Very often, Medicare is better coverage and sometimes cheaper than what you're receiving from the employer. And for very many people, if you don't have a lot of cash flow to cover that bridge until 65, that might make the difference between you being able to retire before then or having to wait all the way until age 65.
So if they're retiring prior to 65, any guidance on type of coverage they should get? I worry about somebody getting, say, high deductible coverage where they have quite a bit of exposure, and also those that have HSAs that can help them as a bridge if they're wanting to retire early.
An HSA is a fantastic account. I think that's one of the better deals in investing in employment benefits out there is the ability to stash away pre-tax dollars for medical expenses and distribute it on a pre-tax basis. So those are a great way to bridge that gap that I mentioned. Now, getting into my own personal bias here, I'm not really a big fan of those high deductible plans. Those work for people if you are healthy and plan to continue staying healthy, but life has a way of coming at you in a way you don't expect. And if that happens, that could break the bank because when you go to those high deductible plans, when it's time to receive care, you're the one having to come out of pocket before the plan will pay for most of anything.
Yeah, and that could make a dent in that retirement savings that you're expecting to use, where if you're carrying, and when you see a high deductible, what type of deductible are we speaking about? Is it like 5,000, 10,000 comes out? You eat that first before they kick in? What do you normally see people looking at?
Usually a little bit more in the north of 10,000 range.
Wow.
So those can be very expensive, and you have to come out of pocket for a lot of that bill all at once sometimes before the plan will step in and do what you expect them to do.
And then they're carrying a pretty good percentage beyond that, right?
Absolutely, and then they'll step in for a little bit, but they're not picking up the whole tab. So what I usually recommend is even if it's a little bit higher on a month-to-month basis, you typically do want to get the plans that have a lower deductible and pay more of the actual bill than letting you come out of pocket for it. Hey, in a perfect world, if all is healthy, you can look back and say, I made the more expensive decision and get a benefit. But more often than not, we see people realizing that they made the right choice by going with the more expensive health plan. Healthcare is not usually something you want to skimp on.
Yeah, from a health standpoint, just for everybody to think about that, and we all are reaching that age at some point, 65. We're also reaching at some point we're going to decide to retire, whether it's prior to 65 or after it. Eventually, someday we step away from work and we're having to make decisions on Medicare as well as the supplements. And you could be very proactive, and health is still going to surprise you, even though you kind of say, well, I'm in great health, and things just come up, and disease does a sneaky thing. It hides itself as long as possible until it's probably a big problem there. So with that said, it also could be an accident that happens. You fall off a ladder, in a car wreck, any number of things could cause that health adjustment. We can't walk around life in a bubble. So that's what you're carrying some risk there to pick up when you're looking at carrying a high deductible plan.
Agreed. I kind of compare that to people who, looking at the rising cost of homeowners insurance, decide, I'm just going to risk it. Maybe that'll work out for you, but statistically, you have a good probability of that going the other direction and you having to come out of pocket for a lot of money. So it is a big risk that you're carrying, and you have to make the choice of if that is a sensible risk to expose yourself to.
Okay, so we've kind of beat that up a good bit there. So let's say you've decided, well, I'm working and I'm going to retire when I qualify for Medicare coverage at 65. So what's that process look like when they reach that point?
So just like you had mentioned, I would want to take a look at that before you turn 65, or usually a few months or even a year or so prior to that point where you want to retire. So at that stage, you want to start the enrollment process. Now, Medicare generally will start whenever you lose what's called creditable coverage. That is usually, for most people, your work-sponsored plan. Once that happens, you want to enroll in Medicare Part A and Part B. Those are what we call the original Medicare portions. Now, Part A, that is the one that everybody, whether you're working or retired at 65, wants to enroll in. That is the free portion for most American taxpayers, and that is the portion that covers your hospital stays. Now, Medicare Part B.
Let's pause it right there, Brandon. Let's pause it at the Part A, jump into Part B when we come back from the break here. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks and Brandon Blanchard. We're going to take a 3-minute break. We'll be right back.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I would never hesitate to ever call them for anything else that we need.
I can't say enough good things about Dwayne Stein and his people at Mortgage Company.
I will never, ever do anything as far as a mortgage is concerned without contacting Dwayne Stein and his group again first.
Let's chat to learn what home loan options or programs you may qualify for. No cost, no obligation, just answers. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Can you raise your payout on your Social Security after full retirement by continuing working and paying in more? Do you get a raise for that?
Remember, the core thing is Social Security benefits you receive are based on your best 35 years. If you have less than 35 years, those are filled in with zeros. So if you're making more money this year that replaces, say, that first year of the 35, it is inflation adjusted. That will improve your benefit. And they reset that, they recalculate that every year. So even while you're drawing benefits, you could well be incrementally improving your benefits.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be.
Welcome back. This is Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. I have Brandon Blanchard here with me this hour. He's going to be with us to the bottom of the hour, and we're discussing Medicare. When we went to break, he had taken us up to, we're trying to help you with decisions on, let's say you've turned 65 and wanting to turn on Medicare for retirement purposes. You're no longer at your job, or ending that, which would end that health benefit. And we've got to cover kind of like Part A, Part B, Part D, and then there's other letters in the alphabet that's utilized here as well. But one of the key things to remind you of is don't wait till you turn 65 and say, oh, I got to look at this now. This is something where you need to do some advanced work, because you got to decide on some other supplemental coverages. So you had taken us through Part A, Brandon, so I'll let you pick back up there on the Part B.
Yeah, thank you. So, as you said, we had left off at Part A, which, like I had mentioned, was the free portion, which is your hospital insurance. Now, Part B is where it's a little bit more complicated. That is the one that is your doctor's insurance. Now, for most people, that's about $185, $190 a month. And if you're already on Social Security at 65 or earlier as well, that's going to come directly out of your check. Now, where that gets complicated is because if you have some other coverage, say TRICARE for life, or maybe your employer pension still provides some degree of coverage, you may not necessarily need to enroll in that. So that is another decision you should be aware of prior to retirement and prior to 65. And just like you had alluded to already, that is not all of it. That's not all you need to have comprehensive coverage. You also need to worry about your prescription drugs. And I think that is one of the more important things for people to check into, because not all prescription drug plans, usually your Part D, easy to remember, are the same. You want to make sure that whatever you are on medication-wise is covered by what's known as the plan formulary. A fancy way of saying what list of drugs is covered by that plan. If you're on an expensive medication, say a thyroid medication or something for cancer treatment, those, if they're not covered by your prescription drug plan, could be astronomically expensive and, again, make or break the difference on your retirement. So that's one of the things that, like we said earlier, you want to make sure you're aware of sooner rather than later. Don't wait until age 65.
So in that decision process of supplemental coverage, we've got kind of the government's version of that versus using other insurers. And I'm just not a big fan of the pot they throw everybody into. Can you help talk about that?
Yeah, and that's what you're kind of getting into with respect to Medicare Supplement, or sometimes known as Medigap versus Medicare Advantage. Now, that's a very involved decision that is unique to everybody with respect to your financial situation and your medical situation. So don't take this as me giving guidance as a blanket term. I will say, though, my preference is like yours, in the direction of the supplemental side, where you have a little bit more flexibility as to what you're going to get when it comes to treatment, as far as selecting your doctor, making sure you have the right benefits that are able to support you and your lifestyle, and other perks that might come with specific plans. If you go with the lower cost plans on the Advantage end of things, that gets back into what we were talking about earlier with those high deductible plans that you might have pre-65. It may save you a little bit of money month to month, but when that time inevitably does come that you need medical care, you're going to have to foot a pretty hefty bill before the plan steps in.
Yeah, so you hear the term all the time, Medicare Advantage. And that's what I'm not necessarily a big fan of. Now, it does give folks more affordability in covering that, and kind of gives them a few perks with that I guess makes it more appealing. But I rather, if somebody can afford to, is use the other variations of Medicare supplements to cover those gaps. Want to share on that?
I would agree. And again, that's my personal bias there. Very well, it may make sense to go on an Advantage plan, but my direction is still towards the Medicare supplement side. Now, the Advantage plans, one of the big things I do hear about them on the positive side is that they wrap everything up into a nice, neat little bow. So you get your prescription drug plan, you get your coverage on your medical emergencies as far as your doctors and hospital visits go, and you don't have to worry about different bill coming from a different provider every month. With respect to Medicare supplements, you can kind of feel like you're getting nickel and dime because you'll have one company that provides your supplement, another that provides your drug plan, and one more that provides your dental, vision, and hearing. And then, like you had mentioned already as well, some of those Advantage plans do provide neat little perks like a gym membership or some kind of health check where they'll cover that once per quarter or per year. So it can feel like they incentivize you, but like you had already said, unless you can't otherwise not afford it, I would typically try to steer people towards the more comprehensive coverage that the supplements offer.
Yeah, every year there's, when we get to re-enrollment period that happens basically, I'll call it December of each year. It's a little variation on that where you can change plans on your supplements or shift to Advantage or out of that, right?
Correct. So
what I was getting at is I
kind
kind of cover how Advantage works and how it's a problem in the industry, but the advertising and the government, it seems like, is always trying to push more and more people to that, but there are negative impacts on coverage and denials, and doctors don't necessarily like that because the insurance companies actually are the ones that have say. They can go by Medicare guidelines on approvals versus denials, but it is up to the insurance company regarding that versus the Medicare supplements.
That's right. And that is one of the most common complaints with regard to Medicare Advantage world is that's when you get into the terminology of HMOs, PPOs, and I'm going to oversimplify and say that really is saying which doctors can and cannot be supported by that plan. So if you have a specialty doctor that you have a pre-established relationship with, for a lot of seniors coming on to Medicare, that's a deal breaker with respect to what type of plan they go on to. But compare that again to your Medicare supplement side. On average, any doctor that accepts Medicare will also accept payments from those Medicare supplements. So again, that's why another reason I support the supplement decision as opposed to the Advantage route.
Yeah, denials on the Advantage route are problematic, or just the doctors will build up this thinking that, like, heck, I'm not going to get paid, or I'm not getting paid much for this from that standpoint. So that's why you need to look at both sides and think through this process. So I lean on the side more of Medicare supplements, but Advantage has a cost savings for you that people on limited budgets are more likely to move towards the Advantage plan. So tell us about how, at our firm, how we help people through this and connect with that team that really walks them through this.
Well, part of the helping process is in starting with a conversation just like you and I are having now. Of course, we go into a lot more detail on the personal side of things, where we ask, what kind of conditions do you have? What medications are you taking? Which providers do you want to make sure you stick with? And then that will help us with the decision on steering you, should you go towards the Advantage end or the supplement end. And then once we have a little bit more info and you feel a little bit more comfortable on starting that decision process, we can connect you with our Medicare team who, as I say, does the legwork of the shopping for you. One of the nice things about the Medicare world on the supplement end of things is that all of those plan benefits are government mandated, meaning your plan H from company 1 is going to be the same coverage as plan H from company 2, 3, and 4. It's really only different with respect to what are you paying per month. So finding somebody who will do an independent shopping process for you is also what we want to do when we connect you with our Medicare team to help you get a lot more information as to which plan is best for you.
Yeah, and we had a family member we helped last year with that, and they were on Advantage, and their health was still good, but they're moving up in health. So when you do change from Advantage to supplements or change from one insurance company to the other, we treat it more as a commodity that you can actually go shop every year and see if you get a better deal, because it is a commodity and you can change as long as your health is good. So you kind of have to pre-qualify on that. So we had a family member that we talked to them about changing from Advantage so they would have better opportunity for choices in coverage, and their doctors are happier with the supplement coverage as well. So thank you, Brandon, for that information. So to all the listeners, if you've got questions, you can reach out to us at Gregory Ricks and Associates, our daytime jobs, at 504-832-9200. Email info@gregoryricks.com. You could request a conversation with Brandon by calling in to the office as well. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me with some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1978. Cancer Crusaders Incorporated is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $5 million for the local cancer research centers, LSU Stanley S. Scott Cancer Center and Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. Visit us at cancercrusadersla.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox Fox News, I'm Paul Stevens. Flights have resumed, but residual delays continue at London's Heathrow Airport. This after a Friday fire at a power substation.
Heathrow has come under intense criticism for how a fire at one substation could have created all of this chaos. Now, Heathrow doesn't have a single source of power, but 3 substations that power different areas, and it took several hours to control the fire.
Fox's Stephanie Bennett. The legal battle continues after a judge blocked the White House from using a centuries-old law to deport suspected gang members.
That wartime power dates back to when John Adams was president, and what Judge James Boasberg and what many critics say, this is about due process for some of those alleged gang members deported to El Salvador.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson and former 2-time heavyweight boxing champ and noted pitchman George Foreman has died. He was 76. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey y'all, welcome back. Those great 2 segments there regarding Medicare decision. We all are deciding that at some point in time, myself included. Decisions to make. And you want to make a good one. I'm not a fan of Medicare Advantage. I would try for one of the supplements, but for those on limited budget or just don't want to spend some extra money there, Advantage is a great choice. You're going to need to pick up a supplement in addition to that because Medicare has gaps in coverage. So you really have to think about that, and you should be thinking about that in advance. I would go online to the Medicare website and do a little bit of reading there. But, you can also in your search engine do a little bit of reading there also from that standpoint. Let me see. I was just seeing if I had a download here in this, and I've got a list of it. And we do cover that somewhat on our website as well. I just don't have a download listed in front of me, but I'll see if I can get that added to the list because it's something everybody has to decide to do. Just like in the next hour, we're going to spend some time on Social Security because that is a decision you have to make at some point. And one thing I'm not recall if Brandon discussed, but there are some penalties if you don't turn this stuff on at time or you defer, like, I don't want to turn on the Part D. Well, you're going to pay a penalty that's locked in forever. And the Part B, there's a penalty if you don't exercise that within a proper period of time. And it locks in those penalties forever thereafter. It's not something that goes away. So what you want to do is be in front of this. And it's something we discussed when somebody comes into our office and wants to start planning for retirement. And I think there's key timelines, even though you might not be ready to retire or have that conversation, but I kind of say, what is a key period to start thinking about these things? 5 years before that date. Because you may have work to do. You may have to do some mental adjustments. I also you're probably going to need thinking time. If somebody asked me about something as well, and I shared with them, I said, I tell you what, I'm going to put some thinking time. I'm going to schedule me some thinking time this week to think about that question, that concept there, and I'll get back to you on that. I don't want to always have to make a quick decision, and when it's something that I've got to think through in order to make the proper decision. I want to have some thinking time. Retirement is something that requires some thinking time, and probably a good bit, meaning you're going to have multiple sessions of thinking time to get this right. And we want to make a great educated decision. So it's not only about your assets that you've accumulated, your expenses that you're going to have in retirement. Not only when are you going to retire, you've got to make decisions on health care coverage. And where I shared that with a family member that we helped transition from the Medicare Advantage to one of the supplements, and they were given a lot of information and choices by our team that handles that to where they're comfortable with. And yes, it was going to cost some more, but what we do know is as you get older, what happens with your health? There's typically more health problems. And what we wanted to do is make sure there's proper coverage, proper choices, and that they're going to be taken care of when health problems do arise, and they will arise. But we also wanted to do that because he could afford to shift to that. Wasn't because of limited income. Now, you ask, well, why was he on Advantage? Because he didn't want to pay for a Medicare supplement. He didn't want to pay for that difference. But it kind of reached that point. It's kind of, hey, you can afford to do this. We will help walk you through that to make that decision. Why were we having that decision? Out of care. We care about them and wanted them to be able to have choices when health care is needed more or health care problems develop. Stacy wrote me a term this morning. I've got it in big writing. She wrote out for me here on the page, so she gets full credit for this, and it is awesome. I was like, here, write this down. Without health, there is no wealth. Wealth gives you better options for health. So that's one reason we've got to make good decisions about accumulating money, having savings, not only for income, but also for your health choices there. And sometimes this might come down to you might need to do something that's not covered to make life better. You might have to write a check for that. And sometimes that writing that check makes things better going forward there. Because not all of your options out there from health and treatments and such and preventive things that you can do are going to be covered by an insurance company for various reasons. But something that you might want to make a decision on and have the capability of writing a check, whether, it's a treatment, it's could just be lotions and etc. that helps your skin, protects it, makes it better. Not just going back to everything's not covered out there, and there are options that insurance won't cover that could make your life better. So that's another reason to save money, have emergency. If you have access to an HSA, you should see how to maximize that. That is, I love that because it's kind of, I wish we all, because those that have high deductible health plans get to take advantage of HSAs, health savings accounts. And it's kind of my favorite investment because I can, if I could put money in one, and I don't have one through my employer because we have a low deductible health plan at Gregory Ricks and Associates, Advisors and Retirement Strategies. Low deductible plan, so we don't have an HSA. But if you have an HSA, what's neat about it is you can put the money in pre-tax. You can grow it tax deferred, and for health care, for health care uses, which is very liberal I might add. Very liberal. It comes out tax-free. I wish everybody had that option, pure and simple, because you could pile up some money and use it for multiple things of costs and even things that aren't covered by health care. You know, that we might need, I hope maybe one of our Congress people are listening to the show, because this is a great idea. I think it should be available for everyone to set aside so much money, because we all essentially can set aside money in an IRA. We can set money in a Roth. We can put money in our 401k, but they don't give us all the right to set up a HSA. So heck, you know what? This week I'm gonna write out to each of our congressmen, since government is being transformative. Why not let us put some more money away so we can make and spend some money on some health things going forward? Because I love this phrase. I'm gonna probably get this framed. Without health, there is no wealth. Wealth gives you better options for health, and health is so important going forward that you want to stay in front. I'm of a proactive lifestyle with annual checkups and tests. Why? I want to be in front of a problem. If I got a problem coming, I want to know sooner than later. I'm not of that world that, oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to deal with it. No, you need to deal with it, and you need to share with your family what's going on in your health as well. Don't let them be shocked. If you've got something, share it. This is Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Do you like having your money follow where momentum is? Remember, everything cycles in the markets there, and you've got to have proper asset classes. And how about a tactical approach that follows momentum? And if there's a black swan effect, like maybe a pandemic, and not have to suffer all of that downside move. That might be why you should take a look at the Invest 50-50 philosophy. Why? I think, always felt, they're doing it wrong out there. There has to be a better way to help people grow their money and have it positioned to take income from without it being crushed when the markets go down.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Nowhere to go, nowhere to be. I got
Hey, y'all. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. I hope you're enjoying the show today. Here's what I ask you: share. We're streaming on Facebook Live and our YouTube channel, but you can go over to the Winning at Life Facebook page and share that show if you like what we do. I'm shouting from the mountaintop what we do so everybody knows, but those that benefit from this, I think you owe it to share to others, to not have this as one of your best kept secrets. The information I learn and pick up, I share with you. I'm not keeping secrets out there, and I don't hold back because I know everybody, even the financial community, listens to this show. I want them to be better at what they do. And I want you to be better at what you do. But you know what, to your friends, family, to not keep the show a secret. If you work with us at our firm, you shouldn't keep that a secret as well. Those that use my information for do-it-yourself, you are missing out. There's things you don't have access to that you're unaware of that we can do for you. You also need somebody to be a sounding board. You know, when you kind of say do it yourself, well, you're being a stock picker yourself, or you're buying ETFs yourself. And if you have listened in the first hour, some of the stuff that I covered, you realize there's stuff we do you don't have access to. And then of the people, the coaches we have, and information we obtain are tremendous resources. And because we are a business, we can spend the money needed to have access to those resources and these people that know more than us. And reason I think you should hire us to help you and to have us as a sounding board is because I do that in real life in multiple areas of my life. You know, I believe in Stacy's phrase here that without health, there is no wealth. I spend money for resources on health and knowledge and information, just like I do on the wealth side. I have personal incentives to do that, as well as public incentives. And that's the public incentives is for the people that work for our firm, for the clients that utilize the firm, and then for the listening public. I'm obviously teaching that every week on this 3-hour radio show that we do. We do best ofs here and there, and it provides great content as well. One of the things I'll share with you also once again, and I think is so important in sharing, and we ask now of this, of who else do you know that can benefit from this information? Because we really have a focus in 2025 of let's not keep what we do for you as a secret. Let's share it with others. You've got kids and family members that could benefit by this information. And you're probably, and I'll even go to this, you're working with a firm that does not have access to what we have. And you should seek out a second opinion and find out. My question would be, what am I missing? What is it I don't know about? What are you doing that could make things better for me in the long run? And we don't rest on our laurels. It's always an evolving process. Because one of the things, there's a multiple decisions I made in the firm on Thursday and Friday on tweaking our processes and stuff that make things work better internally in the company, which also benefits the customers as well, because client services and customer satisfaction is critical in what we do there. So I spent some thinking time on that as well, but had discussions with different portions of our leadership team, bringing a problem. And I said, well, here, I actually know right where to make a change that makes all that better going forward. It made it better for the team, which makes it better for the clients. What ideas are you not getting that's not shared? Or maybe somebody has a bias and don't want you to know about that and is holding that back from you. We don't hold things back whatsoever, but sometimes what I shared in the first hour of a situation where somebody's got $1 million in tax liability that they're wanting to reduce over time and do some conversions and reduce some tax strategies there. And what they're letting hold them back up is we do charge a fee to work with you. And you're going to let that small fee impact $1 million plus in tax liabilities that you could have help to work through and reduce that tax liability instead of having the front of it or that burden be thrown upon your heirs when or beneficiaries when they inherit that money at their highest income years, which would mean that money is going to be distributed and it's forced distribution that it's going to be taxed at that time. The fee is small compared to the tax liabilities out there. And here's what data shows, and I've got a report from a study, and I'm going to have to see if I can pull that up. But there's a study that's done that shows the public work utilizing financial advisors, and I think it's a Dalbar study that it was, averages 3% more return over time by working with an advisor versus doing it yourself. There's another element to this, that from a tax strategy standpoint, utilizing help, and especially with people that have large capital gains on non-qualified stock, creating tax efficiency adds on average another 70 basis points. You know, concept of direct indexing, making adjustments to where we narrow those reduce those capital gains over time as a strategy. There's strategies that we can utilize in protecting funds, that large holdings that can protect downside. You might have a large holding stock. You might love you some Apple, and you might be holding hundreds of thousands of dollars stock in that, or even millions. And yet, you could be generating more income from that from just continue to hold it, as well as help from creating tax efficiency and reduce your capital gain exposure over time. Why? You're not getting that yourself. You're not getting it with the firm you're working with. You might even that might be your secret stash of holding a few million in stock. But maybe you should be having a conversation with us, like, well, what was Gregory talking about on the show that you could help me with my stock holdings there? It is something you should talk about there. And these are little things you think, oh, I don't want to pay a fee. We're offsetting that. We're bringing value. Yeah, we've got to get paid, but we can have that conversation. But look, if we can't help you and it's not to your advantage, we're going to be honest with you about that. If we're not a fit, it's okay. And sometimes we deem it's not a fit and you're wanting it to be a fit, but it's not. And it's okay from that. standpoint, and you've got to feel good about it. So just a few thoughts there sharing. But once again, if you've got somebody that needs to hear this story, go share it on Facebook Live with all your friends out there. But look, if you want them to have a copy of the book, it's an easy read. They need to make better decisions. Would this help nudge them? I'll send out a signed copy if you tell me who you want to send the book to, or if you need one yourself, you're a listener. Okay, I want to see the book. I don't want you to have to take weeks or months to read the book. It's not going to take you that long. It's a great read. I've got a lot of other stuff I want you to read there that if you're into the reading. Another is Tony Robbins' book. Where'd I set that book at? There it is, over there. Nope, I moved it. Oh, I got a tablet under it, over it. The Holy Grail of Investing. Got another book here, Tony Robbins' Life Force. It's kind of talk about health strategies as well, and stuff going on that you're not aware of. Oh my gosh, I've got so much to share with you. You know what? I'm going to do another hour. We're going to take a 6-minute break, and I'm going to be back with hour 3. And we're going to kind of talk about Social Security in the next hour. I'm going to touch on a couple other books here I have on my stack. We'll be back shortly.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
Fox News ICE announcing the first arrest of a suspected Tren de Aragua gang member under the Alien Enemies Act. That takedown coming as the White House continues to battle a federal judge.
Federal Judge James Boasberg is extremely skeptical of the Trump administration's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act. The president argues he can exercise that wartime authority because TDA is threatening an invasion, but Boasberg is questioning the administration's expanded use of the statute, saying the policy ramifications of this are incredibly troublesome and problematic. The president, though, is defending his actions.
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs.
As this case is litigated, immigration officials are moving ahead with detaining suspected Tren de Aragua gang members. They say one alleged gang member in particular, Franklin Jose Jimenez Bracho, is the first person detained under the Alien Enemies Act.
And that's Fox's Madeline Rivera. Operations resuming slowly at one of the biggest airports in the world. It's open once again after a fire shut it down yesterday.
London's Heathrow Airport is fully open and operational after it was completely shut down for hours due to a power outage from a nearby substation fire. The closure is still leading to massive disruptions at one of the world's busiest travel hubs and beyond. More than 1,300 flights around the globe still could be affected from the closure over the coming days. Power has also been known to be fully restored to the region around the substation.
And that's Fox's Jackie Ibanez. Too early to determine, officials say, what caused the fire, although it's not considered at this time to be suspicious. Pope Francis planning to make his first public appearance in some time tomorrow, Sunday, offering a blessing from the window of his room at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. He's been there for quite some time, battling breathing difficulties, including double pneumonia. America's listening to Fox News.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and editor of the Transom.com daily newsletter, and I'm inviting you to join a conversation every week with the smartest thinkers out there about the issues Americans face and where we're going as a nation. This show will feature deep dive interviews with newsmakers and some of your favorite Fox News analysts. I hope you'll join me as we dive into the fray. It's the Ben Domenech Podcast.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
The FBI now looking into a rash of vandalism on Tesla vehicles.
These Tesla dealerships across the country being vandalized. Some people have saved up a lot of money to buy these cars. The president threatened serious punishments to anyone caught doing it, posting on Truth Social yesterday, quote, "I look forward to watching the sick terrorist thugs get 20-year jail sentences for what they are doing to Elon Musk and Tesla. Perhaps they serve them in the prisons of El Salvador, which have become so recently famous for such lovely conditions." President Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi called these vandals domestic terrorists.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Columbia University agreeing to change some of its policies. That's to meet the demands of the Trump White House and to try and restore some threatened federal funding cuts.
The changes include overhauling the rules for protest, banning face masks on campus with exceptions for religious or health reasons, appointing a senior vice provost to oversee the Middle Eastern, South Asian, and African Studies Department, and hiring a new internal security force of officers who can remove people from campus or arrest them. These concessions come after the Trump administration accused Columbia of failing to protect Jewish students during campus protest over the Israel-Hamas war. President Trump has vowed consequences for those who lead the protest.
And that's Fox's CB Cotton at Columbia in New York. Meantime, protest organizers not backing down. They're calling for a campus walkout this coming Monday to respond to those new proposed policy changes. Kitty Dukakis has died. She was 88. She passed away on Friday. She, the wife of former Massachusetts governor and 1988 Democratic presidential nominee Michael Dukakis. The cause behind her death said to be complications from dementia. That's according to her son.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Got a few more topics with you. I'm going to talk about Social Security this hour. Got a question that a listener wrote in. Let's see, where do I have that noted at? Let's see, is that here? Yeah, we had a listener write in with a question regarding Social Security taxes. They received some back benefits. I'll cover that with you. We're going to probably jump into that next segment. And I'll cover some ideas and thoughts from our discussion at the great event we had this past Thursday. There. I mentioned a couple books here. I'm not going to get to everything, but there's a great author, Tom Margenau. It's Margenau, 100 Myths and Facts. You could get that book. Interesting read on Social Security. I mentioned a few minutes ago regarding another book I'm working through, Life Force, on how new breakthroughs in precision medicine can transform the quality of your life and those you love. For those that out there that are listening that are proactive like myself, is if you want to find out more about your health and preventive medicine and strategies to, if you've got a problem, when would you rather find out? I'd rather find out early before it's a big problem. I want to head it off as soon as possible if there's a health problem. Give me that head start, not have me behind the 8 ball dealing with it, like having the problem for years and all of a sudden it revealed itself. So I'm more of the proactive type. I kind of mentioned this the other night at the event, that our generation of parents are more of the opposite. They just seem to not share, hold things in, not want to deal with it. And sometimes those are bad outcomes, and cancer can really eat you up if you put it off. The problem doesn't get better. It doesn't go away itself. It's not like the cold or flu that you can just get over it. Some of these problems, like heart problems, blockages, and stuff like that, and if you're leading a lifestyle where you're kind of abusive to your body, and it could be drinking too much, smoking, eating too much, not exercising, those things have consequences. So you might want to get in front of that. This book, Tony Robbins' Life Force is the name of the book, written also by Tony Robbins, Peter Diamandis, and Robert Harry, is a great read. And both Stacy, my wife, and I go through a lot of books together, and she's got this one pretty well tabbed and marked up. And Tony has personal experiences that he shares on how utilizing technology has impacted his life. One of the things is you realize the genome has barely been mapped just for 10 years. Our oldest child, David, lives up in New Jersey and has a PhD in genetics, and he works for a pharmaceutical over there that deals with rare diseases. But just the knowledge that they have and the research and technologies that are out there to deal with things and repair cells and give cells instructions are unbelievable. So there's so much coming, and medicine is going to alter tremendously in the next few years, which also impacts the quality of life and longevity. And we kind of look at, in another book here, so for those watching, I'll just show the cover of that book, and you can kind of see we're working through that. But another book here that is called Outlive, The Science and Art of Longevity. And I know another friend of mine is reading it because he actually gave me a copy, and actually I already had it. So I passed it forward and gave Nicholas a copy of this book, and it's called Outlive, The Science of Art and Longevity, Rethinking Medicine to Live Better Longer. And in the book, he talks about medicine 1.0, 2.0, and then what's going to be medicine 3.0. He goes in the book here on page 25, the first era exemplified by Hippocrates, but lasting almost 2,000 years after his death, is what he calls medicine 1.0. Its conclusions are based on direct observation and abetted more or less by pure guesswork, some of which was on target and some not so much. Hippocrates advocated walking for exercise, for example, and opined that in food, excellent medicine can be found. In food, bad medicine can be found, which still holds up, but much of medicine 1.0 missed the mark entirely, such as the notion of bodily humors, to cite just one example of many. Hippocrates' major contribution was insight that diseases are called by nature and not by actions of gods, as had previously been believed. That alone represented a huge step in the right direction. So let's talk about Medicine 2.0. Medicine 2.0 arrived in the mid-19th century with the advent of germ theory of disease, which supplanted the idea that most illness was spread by miasmas or bad air. This led to improvement in sanitary practices by physicians and ultimately the development of antibiotics. But it was far from a clean transition. It's not as though one day Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister and Robert Koch simply published their groundbreaking studies and the rest of the medical profession fell in line and changed the way they did everything overnight. In fact, the shift from medicine 1.0 to 2.0 was so large, was a long, bloody slog that took centuries. We'll take a break. Darn break interrupting me. I'm going to give you some more when we come back. We'll be right back on Winning at Life.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I would never hesitate to ever call them for anything else that we need.
And I can't say enough good things about Dwayne Stein and his people at Mortgage Company.
I will never, ever do anything as far as a mortgage is concerned without contacting Dwayne Stein and his group. Again, first.
Let's chat to learn what home loan options or programs you may qualify for. No cost, no obligation, just answers. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Can you raise your payout on your Social Security after full retirement by continuing working and paying in more? Do you get a raise for that?
Remember, the core thing is Social Security benefits you receive are based on your best 35 years. If you have less than 35 years, those are filled in with zeros. So if you're making more money this year that replaces, say, that first year of the 35, it is inflation adjusted. That will improve your benefit. And they reset that, they recalculate that every year. So even while you're drawing benefits, you could well be incrementally improving your benefits.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey y'all, I hope you're enjoying the show today. For newbies, I'm I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, CEO, founder of Gregory Ricks and Associates, Advisors and Retirement Strategies. I've been in the industry for decades. What led me to the industry when I was going to college, got into insurance sales. I had a fascination with money since being a kid. I just like the idea of compound interest. So it's that like right there has impacted my life forever. Well, impacts a lot of others because I was a student of the business and have obviously, like through the radio show, growing a firm, hiring and training advisors, become a teacher of the business as well, and been bringing this 3-hour show to you for close to 15 years now. June, I guess the first Saturday in June will kind of be our stamp that's our 15th anniversary. But from conception, I've been involved in this concept for 15 years now. When I went to break, I was just giving you a couple neat thoughts from this book, Outlive. And live longer and live better. But I thought just early in the book, this concept here was where he defined medicine 1.0, and then where we arrived to medicine 2.0 in the mid-19th century. We kind of went to break when I was talking about the shift from 1.0 to 2.0 was a long, bloody slog that took centuries, meeting trench warfare resistance from the establishment at many points along the way. The shift from 1.0 to medicine 2.0 was prompted in part by new technologies such as the microscope, but it was more about a new way of thinking. The foundation was laid back in 1628 when Sir Francis Bacon first articulated what we now know as the scientific method. This represented a major philosophical shift from observing and guessing to observing, then forming a hypothesis, which as Richard Feynman pointed out in his basically a fancy word for a guess. Yet 3 centuries elapsed between Bacon's essay and the discovery of penicillin, which was the true game changer of medicine 2.0. 2.0 was transformational. It was a defining feature of our civilization, a scientific war machine that had eradicated deadly diseases such as polio and smallpox. Its successes continued with the containment of HIV and AIDS in the 1990s and 2000s, turning what seemed like a plague that threatened all of humanity into a manageable chronic disease. I'd put recent cures of hepatitis C right up there as well. He goes on to say, I remember being told in medical school that hepatitis C was an unstoppable epidemic that was going to completely overwhelm the liver transplant infrastructure of the United States within 20 years. Today, most cases can be cured by a short course of drugs, maybe expensive ones, but nonetheless. And we continue. More amazing was rapid development of not just one, but several effective vaccines against COVID-19. Not even a year after the pandemic took hold in early 2020, a virus genome was sequenced within weeks of first deaths, allowing a speedy formulation of vaccines. Yet medicine 2.0 has proved far less successful against long-term diseases such as cancer. While books like this may trumpet the fact that lifespans have nearly doubled since the late 1800s, the lion's share of that progress may have resulted entirely from antibiotics and improved sanitation, as Stephen Johnson points out in his book, Extra Life. I'm going to jump over and just talk briefly about medicine 3.0. So during his stint away from medicine, the writer here, he he realized that his colleagues and I had been trained to solve problems of an earlier era, the acute illness and injuries that Medicine 2.0 had evolved to treat. These problems had such a shorter event horizon. For our cancer patients, time itself was the enemy, and we were always coming in too late. This is why he believes we need a new way of thinking about chronic disease, their treatment, and how to maintain long-term health. The goal of new medicine, which he calls Medicine 3.0, is not to patch people up and get them out the door, removing their tumors and hoping for the best, but rather to prevent the tumors from appearing and spreading in the first place, or to avoid that first heart attack, or to divert someone from the path to Alzheimer's disease. Our treatments and our prevention and detection strategies need to change to fit the nature of these diseases with their long, slow prologues. I'm going to stop right there. I've given a bunch of you a reason to probably get this book, but you see where we're trying to get to is move away from, we not to quit treating diseases after they happen, but we do as a society have to transition with technology to finding it in advance, treating it in advance, adjusting lifestyles to prevent it from happening, but catch it early instead of when you're behind the 8 ball with the disease. Really important stuff right there. And that's how I've been thinking for a few years, is being super proactive. If I've got a problem, I want to catch it early. I altered how I eat because of Jesse with Glucose Revolution. I've lost some 35 pounds or so over the past year. I've been stable in weight for a great while, but I changed the way I eat, and it changed my lifestyle because I want to be proactive and make sure I eat food that helps me and doesn't hurt me. And glucose is an enemy, and we have to work to reduce it. You know, one thing cancer likes? It likes some glucose. Sugar feeds cancer. At the core, you got to understand that, and that's one of the enemies that we can't beat right now. After it happens, we have to work, so we got to do things proactive. Got another book here, Carrie Forrestal, MD, had this referred to me by Mickey O'Neill, and we're going to try to get him on the show. It's an ER doctor that's written this book, and it's called Crushing Cancer, a Patient's Complete Guide to Managing a Cancer Diagnosis. I had read a preview of the book because Mickey had sent me over the first chapter, and I'm like, wow, I've got to read this. I did not realize the book is, and I've not gotten through it, but it's like over 400 pages. Tremendous, helpful guide for somebody going through the process of dealing with cancer. So if you've got an early diagnosis or dealing with it, it is a great guide. Once again, title of it is Crushing Cancer by Carrie Forrestal. So once again, a whole bunch of reading I've got here. There, that's kind of my list of books I had stacked up to tell you about and share some thoughts with you. So I know it's a money show, but you know, why are we saving up money? Why are we accumulating wealth? We want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want you to go and accumulate everything you need and defer Social Security to all of a sudden have it end, and now you don't have time to enjoy the fruits of what you set aside as well. In our event on Thursday evening, one of the things I talked about and had a question from the audience, and let me see if I can get that pulled up here. Let me get to, let's see if this is the page. No, here it is. It's regarding Social Security. If you're becoming FRA this year, and what in talking about the question was posed, can you start receiving Social Security benefits early in the year you reach full retirement age. That would be your FRA. But there's an important distinction between turning it on before FRA and FRA also. Before full retirement age FRA, if you start benefits before you reach FRA, even if it's just a few months early in the same year, your benefits will be reduced. Not much, but there is a reduction based on how many months you claim early. And remember, your credits, if you're deferring Social Security, your credits are bi-monthly. So your reduction would be bi-monthly. It's not because you turn it on, you lose a year's worth. You get a credit for each month you defer. So it's not really a penalty. You just didn't defer all the way to when you turned on. So till you reached FRA, full retirement age, to turn on. In the year you reach FRA, there's a special rule for the year you reach full retirement age. If you start in that year, but before your FRA month, your benefits are still reduced, but less than if you had started a year earlier. Additionally, earnings limits are higher in that year, meaning you can earn more without reducing Social Security benefits. And if you start in the month you reach FRA, you get full benefits, no reduction, regardless of earnings. I got a little bit more to cover with you on that. We'll pick that up when we come back from the break.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
Your program helped to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1978. Cancer Crusaders Incorporated is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $5 million for the local cancer research centers, LSU Stanley S. Scott Cancer Center and Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. Visit us at cancercrusadersla.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox
News. I'm Daria Albinger. IRS whistleblowers Gary Shipley and Jordan Ziegler, who testified about the business dealings of Hunter Biden, have been promoted to jobs in the Treasury Department.
We're going to recommend reforms and things that will create a culture that is better for the American taxpayer.
Ziegler on Fox Business Network's Maria Bartiromo's Wall Street says he's anxious to improve the IRS. President Trump unveils the newest Air Force fighter jet, the F-47.
America's enemies will never see it coming. Hopefully we won't have to use it for that purpose, but you have to have it. And if it ever happens, they won't know what the hell hit them.
Mr. Trump at the Pentagon says the jet will be built by Boeing. One of the world's busiest airport, London's Heathrow, is open a day after a fire. America listens to Fox News.
And a little bit of chicken fried. Cold beer on a Friday night. A pair of jeans that fit just right. And the radio up. I like to see the sunrise. See the love and my woman.
Hey, y'all. Zach Brown Band. Actually, in January, I got to hear them give a live show. Wow. Is all I got to say. That was... my gosh, I had such a great time listening to them. Wow. Wow. Look forward to doing that again one day, I hope. We'll see. But it was unique. I was at a conference up in Kansas City and had that opportunity to see them. Been longtime fan. That right there, of course, is my favorite song. We always use it as an intro. I think it happens on every Saturday of the show, so we've utilized their song ever since it became a hit years ago. So I'm a fan, obviously. Okay, so we went to break. I was talking about turning on Social Security during your full retirement year. So where we had reached of is before full retirement age. Even if it's a few months, there is a benefits reduction, small, but there is one. And if you turn it on early, even a few months before FRA, you are locking that in. There's a special rule for the year you reach FRA. If you start in that year before your FRA month, your benefits will be reduced, but less than if you started earlier. Additional earning limits are higher in that year, meaning you can earn more without reducing your Social Security benefits. And that's going to be important because I'm going to talk about that here shortly a little bit deeper. Starting FRA, if you start in the month you reach FRA, you get full benefits. You don't have to wait till end of the year. Remember, all credits are done monthly. Reductions are monthly as well in advance of FRA. An example, let's say your FRA is 66 in 6 months and your birthday is June of 1959, making your FRA December of 2025. You could start benefits anytime in 2025. Start in January through November of 2025, there's reduced benefits. Start in December of 2025, you receive full benefits. Now here's a question I had. And this was asked to me about in this wording the other evening. Is there any clawback in turning Social Security on in the year you reach full retirement age? Now, I gave them a brief description and said there are advantages to turning it on because you're going to receive more money in comparison to the small impact of reduction, because you do have higher income limits that allows you to not be clawed back. And yes, there's a potential clawback, but there's a special rule for you in the year you reach full retirement age that makes it much less harsh. The earnings limit and clawback rule. They also call it the retirement earnings test. If you claim Social Security before your FRA and continue working, the Social Security SSA might withhold some of your benefits due to how much you earn. This sometimes is called a clawback. The special rule for the year you reach FRA. In the year you reach FRA, you can earn more money before any benefits are withheld. The limits for 2025 I don't have published here, so I'm going to give you the 2024. But here's how it works with the 2024 numbers so you understand. It's going to have been adjusted just a little bit. But in 2024, the annual earnings limit was $59,520. And it only counts earnings before your FRA month. For every $3 over that limit, Social Security withholds $1 in benefits. There is the clawback. After your FRA month, no clawback at all. Once you hit your FRA month, there's no limit on your earnings and no clawback. You can keep all your benefits no matter how much you earn. So what you've got to know is what is your potential earnings from January to your FRA month. So you get a wide berth on that, and for most people, it's going to be beneficial. So here's a sample, or not a sample, how about an example of it? Let's say your FRA month is October of 2025, and you turn on Social Security in January of 2025. You work all year, and you earn $70,000 before October. SSA would withhold some of the benefits because you're over the $59,520 limit using 2024's figure. Rough calculation is $70,000 minus $59,520. You're $10,480 over. $10,480 divided by 3, so there's $3,493 in benefits withheld. Yes, there can be a clawback, but if you start before your FRA month and earn over the limit, but once you hit your FRA month, there's no more clawback. So one of the things, and just to give you an example, if your reduction is, say, $100 a month, but your benefit is $1,500 a month, and you want to start that now, and you reach FRA 6 months from now, you've got 6 months worth of that benefit. That's pretty impactful from that standpoint. I think it should be a serious consideration from doing so. You could pick up more money that way. I like the idea. That'd be like over 6 months, you're putting in your pocket another $9,000, and the offset or reduction is going to be small. And you can go to your SSA.gov site and run through those calculations. One of the things we do at the firm, Gregory Ricks and Associates, Advisors and Retirement Strategies, for everybody that comes in for a first visit, one of the things we're going to prepare, there's multiple assessments we work on and prepare for you to show you when you come back in for visit 2. But one of those is a Social Security analysis. And if you're a client, we prepare that every year until both of you have turned on, just to look at what has changed or your decision so that you're fully informed. And that actually is a pretty deep dive. And I'll tell you, it's not something I take lightly. It's pretty serious about it. And we, just to be honest with you, I spend a considerable amount of money through the firm to have access to that type of software that takes a really deep dive. It's a benefit for coming in for that visit. You come in for visit 2, you're going to get to see it. We'll do a tax analysis, income analysis, and asset analysis is just a few of the examples when you come in for a second visit. It's very worthwhile to pick up that knowledge. There's probably stuff we're going to show you assessments we're going to cover with you that you do not have an awareness of. Some things like, here's my biggest worry would be, especially for a do-it-yourselfer or maybe who you're working with, is you're not getting that critical thinking. You're not getting thinking outside the box. What is it you're not aware of? I shared this earlier. Over the years, we've done just so many thousands of retirement plans, had so many conversations, and everybody's different, but it's a learning base. It's a knowledge base for all of our thinking, and we're continuing to grow and evolve. Just like I have over teaching you on this show over the years has continued to evolve and expand, and that's what you got to be worried. That would be the biggest worry. What is it I don't know that I should know? And I've justified so many times, and working with us, we bring so much more value that the fee should not even be a consideration, because your data shows that you average by working with an advisor, surely our firm, over time, you're going to average a higher return. You're going to have tax efficiency over time. And there's other in our portfolio allocations, the asset classes. And you need to have work. We talked about correlated assets, but asset classes are becoming more and more correlated, so it takes more work to create uncorrelated assets and protect you from downside exposure. All right, music's coming for the break. This is our last break. I'm going to talk about our sponsors when we come back from the break. You are listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Do you like having your money follow where momentum is? Remember, everything cycles in the markets there, and you've got to have proper asset classes. And how about a tactical approach that follows momentum? And if there's a black swan effect, like maybe a pandemic, and not have to suffer all of that downside move. That might be why you should take a look at the Invest 50-50 philosophy. Why I think, always felt, they're doing it wrong out there. There has to be a better way to help people grow their money and have it positioned to take income from without it being crushed when the markets go down.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Winning at Life. Our last segment. Thanks for listening today. Oh my gosh, I've enjoyed this so much. I always enjoy talking with you about money. And we covered some health stuff too. We want to live a long time to enjoy it. I do. I'm a fan of living longer successfully. Show's not possible without some of these sponsors. Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com, longtime contributor of the show as well. Jude Heath of J. Heath Company CPAs. Yeah, it's tax season. I recommend you use Jude and his firm. Reach out to them and tell them Gregory sent you. Don't get cheap on me. Make sure you get your taxes handled and use them for a job well done. If you've come in the money and not sure what to do, inherited some real estate or IRA and so forth, you got to deal with some taxes from your windfall, so talk to them. Wes Blanchard, W.J. Blanchard Law. You can reach him through our office or just do a search for him also. But estate planning. Do you have a will? Do you have a plan? Do you have a power of attorney? That's kind of two critical things you need. And you might, if subject to your situation, you also might want to have a revocable trust. Highly recommended. He's one of my favorites in that line of work and tremendous knowledge there. You know, I hate mosquitoes also. I've got Rusty had came by and treated my property the other day, and I like being able to go outside, not be annoyed by them. And you know, actually it takes care of some other problems as well. But they come out, they give me a heads up when they're coming. They check to make sure I'm aware they're going to be outside while they're treating, because they don't want us going outside. And they treat for mosquitoes. So reach out to neworleans.mosquitojoe.com. Oh, by the way, tell them Gregory sent you. Favorite restaurant for catering, Spitali's Deli and Catering in Metairie. Great food, good friends. Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority Advisors and Retirement Strategies. Show wouldn't be possible without that firm as well. I challenge you to reach out and test the firm. They probably have stuff that you're not aware of that can help you. Great team, and they love taking care of customers. And finally, JJS, did I get that right? JJS Audio Video. Yeah, JJS Audio Video.com. And that's for your technology, studios, sound system, camera, security systems. Great help there. He handles all that stuff for myself and for Gregory Ricks and Associates, the security systems that we have all throughout the offices and cameras and so forth. I'd kind of be lost without it. It's nice to have that you can go look on your phone and see what's going on at other properties or business and so forth. Great guy, really is. And once again, tell him Gregory sent you as well. And if you have any questions about any of the sponsors and such, reach out to the office. We will help you on that. If you'd like to become a sponsor of Winning at Life, reach out to us, info@GregoryRicks.com, or call the office, 504-832-9200, or go to the website, GregoryRicks.com. Here's a question. I've had an email this morning. Let's see. jump over to my emails, see if I can grab this up that came a little while ago. We'll do by date, pull that up. And a listener wrote in. We've probably got a bunch. We got some people writing in for a copy of the book. I see a bunch of requests coming in. If you want to share this book with somebody you know that will help, or you want your own copy, I'll sign it and send it to you. And if you've got some friends that you think would benefit from this, let us know and we'll send one out to them as well. Retirement Deserves a Helpful Hand. A simple read. It's not going to take you weeks or months to get through it, but it's a good way to get you kick-started on that. Got a listener wrote in and basically said, hey, I recently received a retroactive payment from Social Security due to the Fairness Act eliminating the windfall elimination provision. There was a follow-up letter explaining their computations, but no explanations on how federal taxes would be handled on this income. I currently file 85% on my federal return. That means he's got 85% inclusive on Social Security, which leads me in to talk to how earnings affect your benefits. So when taking benefits, they are going to be taxed. And what you have is your modified adjusted gross income. And there's a calculating on how taxes on your benefits. So when he got that back payment, that is Social Security benefits. It falls into that modified adjusted gross income of what is your taxable amount. So that back benefit, so there's a formula here. I covered this in the event the other day that we held this past Thursday. Enter the, and I'm going to go through it. It's A, B, C, D, E. But enter in the total amount in box 5 of all of your 2024 forms SSA 1099. So that means it includes the full amount of any lump sum benefit payments received in 2024 for 2024 and earlier years. If he received that back pay, that's going to be on his 2025. But if you'd received a lump sum last year from Social Security, it goes on that along with your monthly Social Security. It's no different. It's a Social Security benefit. On line B, you multiply line A by 50%. Then on line C, you enter your total income that is taxable, such as pensions, wages, interest, ordinary dividends, and capital gain distributions. You do not reduce your income by any deductions or exclusions or exemptions. You enter also tax-exempt interest, such as interest on your muni bonds. Then you add lines B, C, and D and enter the total there, and then that takes you to your total amount of income that is your modified adjusted gross income. And if you're married, over $32,000 in modified adjusted gross income, your Social Security is 50% inclusive. If you're over $45,000 in modified adjusted gross income, 85% of your Social Security benefits are going to be taxed. If you're single, it's 25 for the 50% level, and then 35,000 in adjusted gross, modified adjusted gross income is at 85%. So that extra that he was asking about, he's already at 85% inclusive. Well, that's going to be 85% inclusive in his taxes as well. That was just one of the things we covered the other evening, and we'll have more of those educational events coming up here soon for you. And we had a great time presenting to the group and did a Q&A and talked with people afterwards. It was nice. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you all for listening. Y'all make my life better by being a part of Winning at Life. If you've got questions, reach out to us, info@gregoryricks.com. Y'all have a blessed weekend, and I'll be with you next Saturday again for more Winning at Life. Have a great weekend.
Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Gregory Ricks & Associates, Incorporated. AE Wealth Management does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Gregory Ricks & Associates, Incorporated are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio show was intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for a financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Gregory Ricks & Associates is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gregory Ricks & Associates. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including but not limited to a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Neither AE Wealth Management nor advisors providing investment advisory services through AE Wealth Management recommend or facilitate the buying or selling of cryptocurrencies. Third parties and guests of the show are not affiliated with, nor do their opinions reflect those of Gregory Ricks & Associates or AE Wealth Management. AE Wealth Management provides services without regard to political affiliation, and the views of individual advisors are not necessarily the views of AE Wealth Management. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
WRNO FM, New Orleans, #1 on your presets, in your car, and the new and improved iHeartRadio app. Free never sounded so good.